Hello there, Market Insights watchers. We're recording today's webinar on Friday, June 7th. And Market Roundup, May jobs numbers have posted. Do they have a potential boost to the Fed rate cuts? More sooner than later, we'll discuss that. And Tech Megatrends, Apple's Worldwide Developers Conference kicks off Monday, June 10th through Friday, June 14th. See why this event has the potential to fuel 3 small cap AI-focused stocks, just recommended by Ian. And in Crypto Corner, Ian will share his latest wonderful insights. So let's get to it. Hi, Ian. How are you this wonderful Friday?
I'm doing good. The GameStop Friday is what I'm calling today. I don't know. The Roaring Kitty is back. And he has a live stream that's happening today, and he's got 500,000 people watching it. So it's pretty, Amber, people will poo-poo this guy and say, who is this person? Meme stock, whatever. Meme stocks are not something I invest in. Something I don't recommend people investing in because it is such a crapshoot. But I have to give this guy credit for pulling off one of the greatest trades in the world. Right now, his position, and he's got a leverage position on GameStop. He's bought some June call options.
Okay.
If the price goes to, I think, $68 or $69 a share, his GameStop position will be worth $1 billion, $1 billion. He started this trade with $50,000 just a few years ago, and has, memed his way into existence. I'm not judging this situation one way or another. I just think it's just a phenomenal thing to be watching, because there will be market books written about, this time period someday in the future. Very, very similar to how the Hunt brothers cornered the market in silver back in the 80s. So we'll see how this shakes out.
That is.
Don't go buy games. Don't go buying GameStop. Please don't do that.
Okay. Words of wisdom. Okay, thanks, Ian. Well, before I dive into Market Roundup, before we begin there, I'd like everyone to please mark your calendars. Our friends at TradeSmith will soon reveal what they're calling the most important number in finance on Tuesday, June 18th. This secret number will not only save you hours of research, but also it has potential to save you a lot of money. That's why you've got to be with us on Tuesday, June 18th at the 10X Profit Accelerator Summit, where the man whose firm created the algorithm behind this special number will join us. Not only will he reveal exactly how you can use the most important number in finance to target gains as much as 10-fold higher on each trade. According to TradeSmith, Ian, I want to just mention his back test. They had a $46,000 real world profit, could have grown nearly 10-fold to $433,000. So this is all thanks to that most important number in finance. So make sure to sign up today via the link in the email accompanying this video to tune in for that particular summit.
Yeah, thanks for that, Amber. It's always a pleasure to talk with the man behind the software, Keith, and let him explain how it works. We also use TradeSmith products, in our model portfolio, and I recommend everyone, that wants to enhance their trading strategy to take a look and sign up for this webinar as well.
Very, very good. Okay, so let's turn to Market Roundup. Well, May jobs numbers posted June 7th and show headline non-farm payrolls increased an incredible 272,000, up from April's revised unexpectedly weak 165,000. The unemployment rate rose to 4% from 3.9%. Government and healthcare sector jobs really saw a healthy jump in hiring there. Meanwhile, average hourly earnings climbed 0.4% from April to 4.1% from a year ago. Now, this report supports the case the Fed will continue to leave rates higher for longer. Before this May jobs report, I was checking the Fed's rate cut probability stood at 60% chance rate cut in September and 74.6% chance in December. And now, well, the Fed swaps no longer fully price in a rate cut before December. And just lastly, I'd like to just share Bloomberg Economics believes the uptick in the unemployment rate to 4% offers a closer approximation of reality than the non-farm payrolls. Ian, they even have this quote to suggest the following, quote, recent data releases on business dynamics as well as census estimates of job gains offer compelling evidence that the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the BLS model, has inflated job gains over the past year and continues to do so. We think the underlying pace of current job gains is likely less than 100,000 per month, end quote. So I just say, wow. Ian, you did mention in recent past webinars that it's an election year. Conspiracies are flying about. Maybe we're seeing better than expected numbers. What's your take on this?
So Bloomberg's saying that the BLS is cooking their books. That's interesting.
I know. I'm like,
so it's one of these things where initially we saw the market sell off this morning on the hotter than expected jobs report. The 10-year right now is up about 11 basis points over yesterday. It was 4.3% going out last night, 4.41% today. This number is not on the headline, not strong enough to get us back to where we were just a couple of weeks ago at 4.5 to 4.6%, right? I hate to use the term, and now the market was down this morning and it's going up. The market has a lot of momentum, right? The trend is your friend. The trend is up right now. I don't want to say, I hate using the word Goldilocks, but we're kind of because the economy is not growing. I think we got 1% growth in the first quarter, so it's not really Goldilocks growth, but the market is kind of in a Goldilocks place here where it's like interest rates are kind of going sideways. The economy is not falling off a cliff as a lot of people had expected. And there's also a lot of money that was on the sidelines in April. So we had that little sell-off in April. We saw that I think $6 trillion in cash was on the sidelines at that point. And now it's like, it feels like people are chasing performance, right? So you've got fund managers that are doing really well in these momentum stocks, and other fund managers don't want to underperform. So they try to get into the same companies that are going up. And another thing too is that we've got a half year end is coming up. This is quarter end and half year end in June. And this is a very important month for the market for a couple of reasons. Well, number one, a lot of those fund managers want to show that they have the stocks on their books that have been going up a lot, right? And then they can also paint the tape with that. So, if if a huge hedge fund has a big position in Nvidia and they're up 40% on it, what's another 10% between friends and the half year? The other thing too is that this is the month that a lot of indexes rebalance, and so it makes for very chaotic trading. And you'll see stocks that move 10, 15, 20% at the half end, like midway through the month, midway through June, also the end of June, because of these rebalancings that are going to happen, because I've got a lot of money funds that have to get into certain stocks and also out of certain stocks at the same time. And because we've had so much movement in the market this year, it gets even exacerbated into the end of June. So that's just something to keep an eye on as well. And I'm sure with our small cap portfolio, something we'll be keeping people updated on.
Okay, very, very good.
But yeah, I mean, Goldilocks right now for the market. The trend is your friend. The market goes up. It feels like we're hitting a new high every day. Low volatility. Rates are going sideways. And there's no reason why we can't see a continuation of this summer rally and all the big themes that are working right now.
Okay, I love it. We're going to look for that summer rally, Ian.
Long story short.
Exactly.
Give me the too long don't read version. Okay, there you go.
Okay, cool. Cliff notes. In tech megatrends, well, Apple's Worldwide Developers Conference, as I mentioned, kicks off Monday, June 10th through Friday, June 14th. And as noted by Bloomberg Intelligence, a central focus of the conference will likely be Apple's potential deal with OpenAI. After Bloomberg News reported that Apple might embed OpenAI's technology in its upcoming iOS 18 release. So the quote details behind any agreement will be critical, as major overhaul of the operating system could jumpstart actually ailing iPhone sales. Now, for OpenAI's technology, securing a central place in potentially over 1 billion active iPhones could expand its gap with other AI startups. An Apple Google alliance on AI is also possible eventually, giving the deal between the two companies. So, this gives users a choice over which large language model LLM to use. End quote. So, Ian, a recent BI and Bloomberg Intelligence survey also found that consumers have a strong preference for their device to include more AI features. Now, when asked, where do you think the computer processing needed for generative AI tools should take place? 32% of BI survey respondents said the processing should take place on the devices itself using the operating system like
Only 32%?
32%. Well,
I think it'd be higher. It's faster. Yeah.
I know.
They just don't know how it works, but
Yes,
okay.
people will learn. You're ahead of the curve, but they'll learn. So, with that said, at WWDC, Apple will potentially announce its plans for the $15.7 trillion AI trend. And when it does, we have three new small cap stocks that you can invest in today to profit from Apple AI's iPhone moment. Make sure to sign up for Extreme Fortunes, as Ian just mentioned, our small cap stock trading service, to get your copy of Ian's brand new special report that gives you the stock tickers for these small cap stocks that stand to gain once Apple's AI's iPhone moment potentially accelerates. So details are in actually the bull icon right here over our shoulders or in the email accompanying this video. So cool.
Thanks, Amber. And remember, the key here is that because of what Apple is doing in AI, we are going to see an acceleration of both the PC and the smartphone cycle. Remember, the smartphones that we're using today, if you have the latest model, very similar to the same iteration, it's an iteration of 3 years ago. Nothing dramatic has changed.
Right.
But with putting faster neural processor in these phones allows you to do AI at the edge. And this is, I think, is the big trend this year, is going from AI in the center, or where it's been in data centers, to actually being able to do AI on your phone. And I just want to leave people with a little note about how AI is already changing things. Do you use Google to search things, right, Amber?
Oh, yes.
Okay, so you type in, I don't know, like, give me a Google question that you typed in recently.
I want to hear the exhaust sound for Jaguar F-Type. Thank you.
Oh, well, yeah, okay, so this is sound. But let's say you ask Google a question, like when was the last time the Boston Celtics won the NBA championship? Okay. It used to be Google would serve you up a bunch of web pages that you have to click on. However, Google has integrated perplexity.ai, and this is basically a large language model that searches the web for the answer and then writes you the answer. Perplexity is owned by a company called Anthropic, which has a large language model called Claude, which people might be familiar with. Anthropic is not a public company just yet. The early stage investors are Meta, Amazon. I think Apple probably has an investment in there. Pretty much everybody has invested in Anthropic. They're kind of a rival to ChatGPT.
Okay.
But one thing this is going to change is that the search engine optimization business is dead, because people don't need to click on websites anymore to get answers from the internet. And because you don't need to do that, it's going to make voice much more powerful. Okay, so instead of having to say, I don't want to say her name, but SIRI, Apple's thing, find me this, and having to look at it, it will activate the voice. So you ask a question and you'll actually get the answer without having to search for it online, which is, I think, one of the big shifts that AI is bringing to the table on the edge as we move from the center to the edge. And Perplexity is obviously, the large language model that is helping the Google search function as well, and something that Apple, will be integrating into their phones. So exciting stuff going on.
So exciting. Oh, wow. I'm looking forward to how this pans out. So, Ian, what's happening in crypto for the week ahead?
A lot. So a couple things let's talk about. Bitcoin is back up at 70,000. We've had record inflows for the last couple weeks. One thing that has stood out to me is that I read, as of June 6th, so just a couple days ago, spot ETFs around the world. Remember, there's not just ETFs in the United States. They launched one in Australia recently. South Korea had one just a couple weeks ago launch. These ETFs now own over 5% of the world's supply of Bitcoin. Okay, 5% from nothing, right? Or minimal at the beginning of this year. Most of them obviously in the United States. However, you would assume that if the ETFs are gobbling up all the supply of Bitcoin, why haven't we broken through 70,000 yet, right? We've been kind of sitting around this like old high level, but I do think that this breakout is imminent. And when it happens, you know, we see 75,000, then 80,000, then 90,000. And I think it's going to be kind of like an air pocket up to a six-figure Bitcoin, which I still believe is going to happen this year, you know, barring any like economic catastrophe or something like that. But it is a very good sign that, you know, every dip has been bought in Bitcoin since the ETF rolled out and also since the Bitcoin halving. The other thing too that we need to talk about, because it hasn't gotten that much play, is BlackRock and Citadel Securities a couple days ago announced that they were going to create a Texas stock exchange. A Texas stock exchange. It's called the TXSE Group. You know, we could send a link to the article for everyone. They raised $120 million. Now, what's the play here? Like, why would BlackRock and Citadel want to create an exchange? Like, you know, they can already trade on the NASDAQ in New York. Well, if you've listened to Larry Fink like we have over the last 6 months, Larry Fink, the CEO of BlackRock, who has $12 trillion in assets under management, was the guy who put forward the ESG movement. He was the guy behind the Bitcoin ETF, most likely the guy who actually helped us get the Ethereum ETF more recently. He's talking about tokenizing real world assets. That's where he believes the next step is. And tokens have a hard time trading in New York. And the reason why is New York has this thing called a bit license, which is very restrictive to crypto companies. New York is not a good state if you are running a crypto organization because they have different securities laws in other states. Texas laws the regulations are a much lower bar. And so I believe they're starting this exchange with the idea of eventually bringing those tokenized assets onto a new exchange in Texas, which is very exciting because they've been talking about tokenizing real world assets. Now they're showing you the plan on how they're actually going to trade them. So we have a position in the Next Wave crypto portfolio that is already tokenizing BlackRock funds. It's already tokenizing PIMCO funds. The position, I think, has more than tripled since we recommended it just a couple months ago. But this is a very good thing for them because now you're seeing where these tokens will actually real world, and BlackRock is behind it, which, you know, if there were any bars or any like barriers to entry, like nothing stops BlackRock, right? Like there are companies just big enough in the United States that like the feds aren't able to stop them from doing things that they want to because their lobbying power is so strong. You know, it's just the way of the world. Essentially, there are companies in the U.S. that have enough power and sway in government that when they want to do something, they go out and do it. And BlackRock happens to be one of them. And that's why I think the tokenizing of real world assets is something that not only think it's just talking about or imagining or dreaming can happen, it's actually coming to fruition right now. So, you know, please check out Next Wave Crypto if you want to learn more about this idea of tokenizing real world assets.
Well, that is it for this week, Ian. I enjoyed hearing what you had to say regarding the Texas exchange. We'll see how that pans out for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And thanks, Amber, for joining me. Any questions, marketinsights@banyonhill.com. Have a great week, everyone. We'll talk to you next week. Thank you.